Hello, decorated Lumen employees. So, we're gonna go ahead and bring in another theory video today. I specifically didn't want to drop any theories after the first episode had released, because it felt like we only got half of the story. I knew I wanted to wait, and any theories that were thrown out there weren't gonna be fully developed yet. I feel like with episode 2, we got a lot more substance to a lot of theories that I've seen. So what I wanted to do in this video today was basically break down some of my own theories I caught while watching the episode, some theories I picked up on from Reddit, and then my personal grand plan theory for what Cold Harbor is all about. If you're interested in finding out more about what Cold Harbor could be and what could be going on, stay tuned till the end. And I'll also be explaining why Mark is the biggest liar on the entire show, even more than Milkshake. I'm also going to leave things off with questions that I still have no idea what the answers could be, just lingering thoughts and things I just can't quite put together just yet. So maybe if someone has any ideas, feel free to let me know. So, starting off with some of my personal catches.
Fetid Moppet.
Fetid Moppet. This threw me off. When Helly's dad, James, had basically come in and he was furious with Helena. It's interesting the concept that he would actually blame her for anything. Here's what I'm thinking. He called her Fetid Moppet, which fetid is meaning having an offensive smell, and Moppet is meaning a child. This could be a double meaning. If he believes Helly's excuse for what happened and why everything went down at the presentation the way it did, I do think that he is both calling her a child for being immature and lying to him, and maybe lying to the public, and or he is basically calling out her alcoholism. We already saw in season 1 that somebody asked how many drinks she had had.
How many of those have you had?
I do personally fall into the belief that she is a partier and a rebellious sort, and she has maybe done some things that put the company in some hot water, and that's the whole reason she is severed in the first place, specifically so she could make up for some PR with the company. This is basically him just either smelling the alcohol off of her breath and calling her out for her past behavior, or calling her out for her lies to the public and to himself. In regards to the Helena versus Helly debacle and who actually is down there in episode 1 that we see, I personally believe that it's Audi Helly masquerading. However, at the end of episode 2, I lost that feeling because we see Helena go into the elevator same as everybody else with no difference. At least I thought so. See, a couple of avidly analytical Reddit users had pointed out that as Helly goes down the elevator, she's the only character who goes down the elevator and doesn't follow up with a ding. Maybe indicating that ding is the exact sound design that triggers the severing process in general, and not the elevator reaching a certain threshold in some way, shape, or form. Which wouldn't make too much sense considering the other exit is just a door you push open, and there was no ding when she would leave the building. I don't know, but still, that's a good call. Mark also has 2 beta fish that are both beautiful in their own ways, but aren't allowed to be within the same tank together, because if they do combine in some way, shape, or form, they kill each other. I wonder if this is some warning about what could happen if Mark does pursue reintegration in some way. We do have aspects of each side of Mark that we can enjoy, and I'm thinking if they cross, they'll have more in conflict than anticipated. It seems like any Mark is kind of a hero and wants to help everyone, and Audi Mark is just wanting to avoid all the stresses and problems in his life altogether. This is on Rebecca, the awkward gal with glasses that seems to be one of Rickon's soiree friends. She's a little bit interesting. On tonight's episode, she specifically had called out,
"Don't punish the baby, Rickon. This wasn't its fault."
Of course.
She had alluded to the fact that Rickon shouldn't blame the child for getting lost because it's not its fault. Some people are wondering what that means. Some people chalk it up to her being a secret agent of some kind, and some people chalk it up to her just kind of being a goofy gal in some way, shape, or form. What I'm thinking is we've already established that she is a super fan of Rickon and his book. There's several scenes where she just is in awe of Rickon and everything he does, especially when he does his book reading at the end of season 1.
And then come back. Balf? Better than any part.
It's transformative. Gonna have to change my name again.
What a wordsmith.
I think her asking Rickon this is clarification that he is loosely related to the Egans. I don't think he's popular enough to be part of the main Egan family. Maybe he's even been shunned in some way, shape, or form. Point is, he's either like a cousin removed or just related to the Egans in some way, but ended up kind of veering off and going on his own path. However, I believe that he could have still been raised with a very similar Egan mentality before he broke away, and maybe in one of his books he illustrates what it was like growing up under the Egans and kind of being punished. And we know that Lumen punishes their innies in very similar ways to that of like a school child from the 1900s. I do wonder if maybe Rickon had grown up similar, and Rebek, being a huge fan, knew that this was something that he could potentially carry on as his parents did to him. Especially considering he looks so much like Mr. Frolic Man there. Is that racist? I hope not. So, now I kind of wanted to get into some of the theories I've seen online, just in regards to certain things. Let's go ahead and start off here. Oh yes, Ben.
It's interesting that nobody's ever talked about Mark's locker tray and the things that are in Mark's locker tray. I'm not gonna say too much.
You really thought the fans of your show wouldn't have dissected that scene over and over and over again? This is a Reddit post made by the user Lord Baelish, nice name. The title of the post is Mark's Watch, hang on a second. How it goes is, in season 1, episode 1, at the start of Mark's day, we see his 2 watches. The second hand doesn't appear to move on either. Now, around the 34-minute mark, as Mark leaves for the day, he takes off his innie watch and swaps it over. We also see outside Mark take off his innie lanyard with the blue card. He stops to consider the card for a moment before placing it in the tray with the innie watch. I thought this was an odd thing to focus on, so I looked closer. The moment Mark places the Lumen Pass in his tray, the second hand on his innie watch begins ticking. We have not seen the second hand move on either watch up until this exact moment. Basically, the idea is something funky is going on with time. I don't know exactly what we're supposed to piece together just off of this tray, but it is something to definitely pay attention to if anybody has any theories. Now comes my personal take on Cold Harbor. See, at the end of last episode, all we got was a still frame. And yes, you could run wild with the theories on what that could mean, but in my opinion, I wanted to wait till I had a little more meat to be able to put behind this theory before I gave my own thoughts. To start off this theory, Gemma is not dead. If we do not see a character die on screen, they are not dead. Sure, you could argue that point doesn't really fit if the character's death happened before the context of the show altogether. Fair. This episode, episode 2, gave us a big clue as to why she is still alive, or at least physically her body did not get as damaged as maybe they had assumed. Devin and Mark are having a conversation. Devin is really trying to push Mark into really reconsidering what suspicious activities could be going on at Lumen, and Mark is obviously avoiding the emotional instability that will come with all these thoughts. They pretty much confirmed that it was a car crash, right? Everyone's been alluding to slipping on ice and this, that, and the other. Maybe Mark was an alcoholic and got everyone into a crash.
Devin, what are you doing? You remember I identified her, right?
Yes, Mark.
I saw her body.
So, Mark had mentioned that he had identified the body. As soon as he mentioned this, all my theories went out the window. Usually if there's an identifiable body and you're up close to identify it, it's very hard to fake. Obviously Stranger Things went with that whole fake body thing, but point is, he identified the body, which in today's standards is pretty much a guarantee a character is dead. However, following this, when he's getting upset with Devin, he makes an interesting remark.
You know what, honestly, if Rickon died and his body burned, I'd be sad for you, but I wouldn't be affected.
Burn. Why did he mention Rickon getting burned in this context unless it was exactly what happened to Gemma. We're gonna see some flashbacks of Gemma this season. I guarantee you in some of those flashbacks, she'll be wearing a necklace or a bracelet of some kind, something to indicate that it's her. When she passed away, Mark, assumedly, my theory, passed out, knocked out to the crash or whatever have you. Maybe the crash was even set up by Lumen altogether. Point is, Mark passed out, Gemma was replaced, and they brought in another body, whether it was a real person or not, burnt to a crisp, and replaced Gemma's actual jewelry onto it. So that when Mark awoke, he would be under the full impression that he got his wife killed and burned to death. Horrible, horrible thing to do, right? But point is, I think the fact that he mentioned her burnt body means it's not her. Now, what could this mean for Cold Harbor? If you pay attention to my last theory video, the idea of Lumen is that they're trying to digitally resurrect somebody in some way, shape, or form, using MDR to basically implement the coding and everything like that into the Four Tempers, and hopefully get to the point where they can recreate Kier as a digital life form. I think maybe there's other parts of Lumen that are creating the biological aspects, like a human body that he could potentially inhabit. That's a little more sci-fi than we've seen so far in the show, but not out of the realm of possibility. The reason why Mark is so necessary and why Lumen needs him to finish Cold Harbor is nobody else has had the subliminal conscious connection to be able to actively pull out emotion from Severin. I think him and Gemma's sessions together had proven to Lumen that they had enough of a connection that there was something there they were tapping into, something deep on a human conscious level that maybe indicates their goals of bringing back Kier is even closer. We see that her sessions with most of the other characters, her character remains steadfast. She does not change, she does not fluctuate, she does not show any emotion or curiosity in any way, shape, or form. She's very cold yet nurturing at the same time. Yet with Mark, things changed, and Cobell caught this. I think Gemma is the 25th draft, or whatever the screen grab had said, of the AI implementation they're trying to create. Maybe she was brain dead after the crash and they brought her back and they used her body as a blank slate. Whatever is going on there, I think she could just be, considering the oddness and how she acts, one of the drafts of a AI implemented person. Now, if that's true, then Gemma could be the result of one of the first few drafts of being a AI replacement or resurrection. Hence why she acts so weird, and seeing that emotion brought out of her is exactly what Lumen is hoping for. It means they're getting that much closer to recreating the human mind. But what if I was to tell you there are other characters that could also be AI? I could easily fall in line to the thinking that Miss Cobell herself could be a resurrected AI. I think it would be awesome to find out that Miss Cobell was actually Miss Cobell's mom, Charlotte, brought back through her own daughter. And basically she's an AI inhabiting her own daughter's body and growing up in the same way as an AI. So she adapts and she learns and she tries to act human in different ways when she's outside of work. Hence the cookies, hence being nice, hence the awkward laughter. She's really trying to replicate what she believes humans are doing. Then you have the inside version of her, who's also very efficient, very steadfast, very robotic, you could say, but there are glimpses of human emotion that tap out. You can see she gets angry, confused, flustered. I'm wondering if perhaps the reason they keep her around is because she is a somewhat successful resurrection of a human being. And maybe she wasn't the exact resurrection they were seeking, just because she still is a little off-putting and maybe isn't as human as they would have hoped, but she's efficient enough that they keep around within the company as a whole. That is a little bit of a tinfoil hat theory, that one. But nobody on the show has a colder cast iron heart than Mark. This dude's a liar, a hooligan, a fibber. Point is, he told Miss Selvig that those cookies he ate were magic. And now all of a sudden he's saying they were trash? Mark's the villain of the show, confirmed. Well, those are my theories for the week. I definitely am enjoying the show so far and all the discussion surrounding the show. Again, I do reactions every single week as well. I do live streams, so if anyone has any questions they want to pop up while watching the episode or right after watching the episode, feel free to hop on down. I'll include that within the edit of my reactions as well. Piece of advice I want to give. I think that in general, it's easy to look at our failures as an end of a journey, but even failure is a double-edged sword, because if you choose to, there is something to learn from it. It sucks, and sometimes failure can feel like the weight of the world, but it's important that you give yourself benefit of the doubt and understand that everybody does fail. It's how you take the failure and utilize it that proves how you can handle things in general. I appreciate everybody who's tuning in and watching. A lot more theories are going to be coming. I am definitely really excited to see how the rest of the season goes. Have a good one, y'all. Stay safe out there.